Hey, I'm Sean,
Hi, and I'm Shannon.
and we're the hosts of Wifey and Baby Mama. Happy Thursday, family. Welcome back. Your favorite two co hosts have missed you, and it's getting more real as the
Yeah.
countdown to the end of season three gets near. But to keep your mind off that negativity, okay, we've made your guest lineup fire. And tonight we're setting
Yeah.
it ablaze again. With us to discuss tonight's topic, the power of steps, is Mrs. Adria Swain, BSW, MBA, and the Director of Permanent Support Housing for Matt Urban Centers. I had the pleasure of
All
meeting this
right.
amazing, yes,
Yeah.
yes. We have to celebrate all that, right? I had the pleasure of
Yeah.
meeting this meeting this fireball doing some work we were doing in the community. And I just knew she'd be a perfect candidate for tonight's episode after we talked for a little while. And Adria, why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself and some of the wonderful things that you do to make this community and city a better place?
Sure. Well, ladies, thank you for inviting me. I appreciate the invite.
No problem.
In my full-time position, working for Matt Urban, which is a nonprofit, I oversee a couple of supportive housing programs, as you mentioned. And in those programs, we house chronically homeless individuals. One of my programs houses all women, another specializes in people fleeing intimate partner violence. We have one program that specializes in veterans, and then another one that is dedicated to it's a crossover. We have families, which houses six families, and then there are some dorm style for all men. Since we met, I also picked up a part time position working for UB because I am a full time graduate student. So I am the graduate assistant for our diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility dean. I do that part time. And then
Wow.
I am also working a little bit on the side, helping a friend of mine work on the back end through Fostering Greatness, which is a nonprofit organization Leah Daniels started. Just helping her on the back end with just some consulting work, paperwork, intake forms, things like that. And then I am a single mom of one young man who turned 20 yesterday.
Yay. Happy
Yes,
Happy
ma'am.
birthday.
birthday.
Thank you, ladies. And other than that, I don't know. I do a little bit of yoga just to kind of take care of self
Even
care
all
at
that out,
home.
huh?
Yep, even all of that out. So yeah, that's me in a
Mm.
nutshell.
Well, that's a
Wow,
big
that's a
shell.
lot.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Shannon, girl, now that
Coconut
blows your
shell.
mind,
Coconut
right?
shell, not a
Right,
nutshell.
right. Now, doesn't that blow your mind every time we meet somebody busier than us, right? I want to know, like, are they
I know.
superhuman? Because I'm
Right.
just hanging
Right.
on, okay? And she got me beat by a
Mm-hmm.
long shot. So,
Mm-hmm.
our guest last week mentioned the term serial entrepreneur. That's what I like to think of myself as, honey. She
Right.
just put me to bed. But, honey, ooh, child, Adrian, you got my love and respect, okay? But seriously, thank you
Yes.
for all that you do for the people who sometimes have no voice or no choice in their situations. And
Mhm.
that's why we're going to discuss tonight the power of steps. What we're going to talk about is not really career related, but family, which is what our show is geared towards. And you know a lot about that, from just explaining your background just now. And when we're referring to the power of steps, we're referring to dads, guys, not ladders. Now, y'all know I like to make these titles fun and, put a little twist on it. Keep you guessing.
Right.
But that's not the case tonight. It's exactly what it is in this episode. We're going to discuss how stepdads are often behind the beauty of daddy daughter dances, being your first date, to being
Mm.
the first to give you flowers, or how I'd love to dance with my father again. My stepdad was, he was my emotional go-to. And Adria, from our conversation, it kind of feels like that's the same for you. Would you share us some of that with the audience for us?
Absolutely. So first and foremost, I don't look at my father at all as a step anything. My
Absolutely.
father is my father. I in third grade took his last name because he has always been the father I've known. And even though I have met the man who biologically made me, there is nothing that can ever replace my father in my life. My father was the first person, as you said, teaching me what it looked like for a man to show up for a woman, showing up whenever there was an issue at school with a teacher. He exemplified what a man is, and I think that is very much why I am very particular about who I date and who I even can see as a potential mate. Um, he just is very old school and raised me to look for a certain aspect and quality in a man.
That's amazing. That's awesome.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, I love
Adria,
that.
Shannon and I, no, go ahead, Shannon.
No, I was just saying, I love that. And I've touched on, even with my stepdad a couple of times on the show, but I never give him the proper credit, only because, well, not gonna make disclaimers or whatever, but my relationship with my biological father was so strong. But
Mhm.
I do have to give a lot of credit to my first stepfather. I gotta say my first. If any of you listened, I had more than one stepdad,
Mhm.
but the first one was the one that raised me. So yeah.
Right. So that's what I was going to say. Shannon and I both have biological fathers that we adored.
Mhm.
However, our
Hmm.
parents choosing to go their separate ways is how we got introduced to the world of stepdads. And like you said, you
Mhm.
you lose the form step. That's the proper term. That's in the world. But like
Mhm.
you just said,
Right.
when the love is so strong, that how they say a letter becomes silent. That step becomes silent
Yeah.
because their love is
Yeah.
so loud. You understand,
Mhm.
and that's amazing. But
Hmm.
we remain really close to our fathers in spite of. And I mean, I just heard you say, when you
Mhm.
say, I love to dance with my father again, that applies only to your stepdad. And I just want to know and asking, just for the audience, if you don't mind breaking it down,
Mhm.
when your mom married your stepdad, did you choose not to keep a close relationship to your biological father, or was it his absence that caused that?
So, my bio dad, which it's even hard for me to verbalize it that way. He chose to be an absentee father. Um,
Okay.
at the age of maybe 19, because grandparents were passing away, I reached out to his mother, and that is how we initiated a relationship. Although I had met him around the age of 12, we still did not have any form of a relationship. And I have heard stories that it was because he was very touch and go early on. And when my father and mother, so Lee Swain, who was my father, um, when he got involved with my mother, that was before I was even born. So there was never a if, and, or but about it. I was always his from the beginning. So when I found out that there was even another person in the picture, it was because I stumbled across the information in one of those baby books, the little memory books. Um,
Okay.
and when I stumbled across it, it was because his name had been whited out, and I'm a little bit older, so the pages are like a manila color, not white. So I asked my mother about it, and at that point, I was probably about 10. And it was
Okay.
just a conversation that we had at that point. It wasn't even much to pry. It didn't even phase me much because of the presence my father had in my life at that point. And when I say my father again, that would be my stepfather. So it wasn't much for me to question. And then one day I went to my first beauty salon appointment because I was about to turn 13. My mother took me to an appointment, and my bio father was in the salon with his then girlfriend and my 2-year-old sister.
Hmm.
And he happened to, as I was closing the door, start talking to my mother, and I heard this man speaking. And as I came around the corner, he just said, "Oh, so you must be Adria, and this is your sister," so matter of factly, without,
Wow.
yeah, and without any other inkling prior to that of his own to even acknowledge my presence. And I mean, and maybe he has a different version of his story, but he's never told me anything to the contrary. And for the first time, that was my first time laying eyes on him, being introduced to the fact that I had a sibling by him. And then I happened to stumble across him later on that same day. And then there was nothing for years until, again, like I said, I was 19 and I reached out to his mother. And as a result of that, just so happened he was getting married within that month. And then it was, oh, baby girl, show up to my wedding. Um, and that was 7 years later.
Him
And
asking you
then
to show up to the wedding?
Absolutely. He was getting married to the
Okay.
woman.
Okay.
I had met that day in the salon. My little sister's mother, they were getting married years later, and he asked me to show up. He wanted me to be present. So leading into going to his wedding, I tried to show up. I believe it was like a Labor Day or something close to his wedding, but also a holiday, just to try and make some form of, I don't know, introduction to each other, so it wasn't completely awkward showing up to a wedding.
Hmm.
And even sitting there that day, it was very awkward because it felt forced on his.
Wow.
So, I mean, I had a sister, so I focused on the attention of having a younger sibling there and trying to build that bond. And I think that is
Mm.
what has even kept any kind of relationship lingering, is because she and I do have a very close relationship. It is just one sister that I have that he had with her mother. Her mother has a child that is not by him. And she does not have a strong relationship with him, so I don't have
Okay.
any connection to that young man. I do have two sisters, one by my father who has raised me, and my mother. They have a child, and then my father
Hmm.
who would technically be my stepfather also has another daughter who is his stepdaughter just the same, and all three of us look at each other as sisters. And so my biological
That's
sister,
amazing.
by my father, also has a relationship with those two sisters. So all of us consider each other sisters.
Wow. Awesome.
Right. And my cousins, I think pretty much all of the family looks at my biological father's daughter as family. We don't look at it any differently. Um,
Mhm.
it just is what it is with him. He actually just drove by me 2 weeks ago, moving her, and I was like shocked. Who was just pulling up on me? And of course, luckily she was in the passenger seat, so it wasn't super awkward. But he's asked to build a relationship with my child. My son is very much me in a male form, and it's like, why? Does Pop Pop know? Which is what he, acknowledges my father as. And it's just pretty much no. It has never been an opportunity where my
Hmm.
son has wanted to even get to know this man exist.
Tried to say, hey, why didn't you contact me? Why, was that ever,
Well,
did you ever attempt that, or was it just always a silent?
I won't say it was silent. It's almost like an unspoken conversation because every time the conversation has been
But
attempted,
that's
it
what I
turns,
meant. Unspoken. Yeah, that's a
yeah,
better word.
it
Okay.
turns
Mm.
pretty bitter very fast, and it is because
Oh.
Okay.
in the past I have had a conversation because it has always been presented that my mother is the reason why we don't have a relationship, and that has never been the case. At least from my standpoint,
Okay.
it has never been the case that my mother has ever put a wedge between us. My mother never really even acknowledged history until I went asking questions. So had it not been for
Okay.
me being a nosy child, it wouldn't be much for me to know. And even with
Mhm.
that, my mother never chose to speak poorly on the situation. She never felt like it was worth acknowledging because my father has always been there. They got married when I was 6, but they had been together, like I said, from the time that she conceived me, because they were in a relationship prior to me being conceived, and then they broke up for a period of time. She got pregnant, and then they got back together. So it was always known that
Okay.
I was not his, but he never he never allowed it to be a moment where I felt like I wasn't his.
That's amazing.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's amazing. Amazing.
Hmm.
So you never experienced any type of, what am I missing here? You know.
Absolutely not. I think I will
Awesome.
say this. I did not realize how much resentment and anger I held, because for me, having my father
Oh.
in my life was always great. I never felt like I lacked anything. But the resentment came in
Hmm.
because they being my biological father and his mother, every opportunity that there came, they spoke so negatively about my mother, there came resentment. Knowing
Mm,
that there were
okay.
opportunities given to him to be present, and he just stayed away. So he was invited to my 8th grade graduation, and I went to a very prestigious high school in Buffalo. So I went there from 5th grade all the way through high school. And he was invited. His
Mhm.
mother was invited as well. They didn't show up. There were multiple opportunities where he dropped the ball, I felt. So there came the resentment. So through the years, I think it took me a while to even understand that there was some anger there. So when the conversation was
Mhm.
finally had after I moved away, my sister came and visited, and then she opened up about feeling she has some anger maybe or some hurt towards me because she felt like there should be more of a relationship with me and her dad. And I had to explain my perspective on it because she didn't know how many opportunities he was given. So
Mm.
we all sat down at one point and had a conversation, me, her, him, and his wife. And I still, at that point, didn't feel like it was on his part. It was more because the women in his life
Mhm.
chose to try and force this relationship. So, I mean, at
Yeah.
this point, we speak and it's cordial when we see each other. What bothers me is that he still calls me baby girl. And for me, I've always only
Mm.
acknowledged him as a sperm donor.
Okay.
Wow, that's deep. I
Do
think
you
that's
ever
sad. Go ahead, Shannon.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you ever feel like you could, sit down and talk to him about, what you feel and, don't call me baby girl or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
do you ever feel like you could have that type of dialogue with him or would it even be worth it?
So I don't think, for me, I'm not opposed to it. Do I feel like it means
Okay.
anything or I need that closure or anything to that effect? Absolutely not. I think
Mhm.
if he needed
Okay.
that, or if he was ready to initiate without an audience, I would be open to that. But I feel like the amount of
Okay.
opportunities given to him, we lived around the corner from each other, literally around the corner from each other, as me being an adult with a
Mhm.
child. And there were multiple
His
opportunities because at
grandchild.
his grandchild, exactly. And it
Yeah.
Mhm.
wasn't until he
Yeah.
started seeing the accolades on social media. Oh, she got a master's. Oh, she graduated from this private school. Oh, my grandson is being like recognized for basketball. Then he wanted to start building a relationship, or at least that's how it
Mhm.
felt.
Okay.
Wow.
So for me, I'm not going to ever ice him out, but I don't lack for anything. And I feel like there have been multiple openings. Even when I lived out of state, he reached out to me and said he was going to send a card or something to that effect for my birthday. Never got it. Never heard from him until my sister came to visit me.
Mm.
Wow. That's
Okay.
deep. And I think that's sad under any circumstances because there's no reason for our blends not to be happy, and like you said, with the
Hmm.
opportunities given with your mother, I could see if your mother was saying like, I don't want him around, but
Right.
when you became an adult, mom no longer is
Exactly.
in play. Now
Right.
you have a choice, and that's
Mhm.
why Shannon and I do the work that we do here to
Hmm.
try and deter this kind of behavior because it's effective.
It
It affects a kid for a long time. Even as an adult,
does.
you can still
Right.
hear the pain in your voice. Now you had a
Yeah.
father that was there. You
Hmm.
don't lack for anything, but it's just a point that, you're my father. It still leaves a void of saying like, why didn't you want me? Adult or not. You
Mm.
know what I'm saying?
What I will say, and what I've acknowledged even recently to my younger sister, his daughter, is that I've seen him love on so many other children, adopted neighborhood children, her best friends. So it always made me wonder what was different. So
Yeah.
that part I will say I've acknowledged. I would definitely be open to that conversation. But I feel like the hurt that it would cause on the other side is too great when it comes to both my father
Yeah.
and my son. Because my son's
Okay.
relationship with my father is so, so seriously deep because his father was murder. He was part of a mass shooting here in
Um,
Buffalo. So his relationship with his grandfather and the way his grandfather has showed up for him beyond me, I would never
mm.
want to blemish that relationship either.
That's
Right.
amazing. Yeah, you got to be careful to protect that
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
if you disturb that, then his emotions become, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Then your emotional issues
Mhm.
become his. So
Yes.
it's very
Right.
important to protect that. And I'm so happy to hear you say that because some people are so concerned with their own closure, their feelings, you forget about the
Mhm.
child. What would that do to your son?
Hmm.
To have to maybe make him choose.
Yep.
You don't ever want to
Right.
create that. So I
Yep.
definitely respect that. I mean, as I watch my 16-year-old, her biological father like worship the ground she walks on, and he feels the
Mhm.
same about her. Yet it doesn't undercut the love and respect she has for her stepdad, which is my husband.
Mhm.
Now,
Mhm.
and I remember teasing her when her father flew in one summer to pick her up and take her back home with him, and I said, "What would you do if your dad and stepdad got into it?" She said, "I would run away."
Mm.
I was laughing so
Oh.
hard because she said, "Mom, I wouldn't want to choose." And I
Right.
know I wasn't a good mom in that moment, but it was just something I wanted to know. Like, how does where does it lie? Like, do we need to choose here? Like, do I not
Mhm.
need to take him with me? Like, would you be
Mhm.
uncomfortable? She's like, "No, no, Mom." And then I asked,
Mhm.
"Well, when you get married, which father are you going to dance with first?" And she said, "Both
Hmm.
at the same time."
Oh, that's beautiful. That's
And
beautiful.
I
Oh.
think it's admirable that she loves her stepdad that way, even though her father is a
Mhm.
ever present and always have been. And
Mhm.
see, your
Mhm.
son, it would be different if granddad, biological, would have presented himself to the situation, and,
Earlier.
made
Right.
himself known, and then
Mhm.
it wouldn't be a question. But I
Mhm.
totally get what you're saying because you have been absent, because you haven't been around. Now you
Mhm.
don't want to make the baby uncomfortable, even though he's not a
Absolutely.
baby, he's
Mhm.
a
Not anymore,
grown
but
man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But he's your baby. But he'll always
Yeah.
be your
Feel a
baby.
bit
Trust me, I know.
absolutely.
exactly.
mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I will say that.
Shannon,
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, no, I was asking my partner if she had anything else. Go ahead, Adria.
I will. I.
Just say in closing, like I have seen hints of sadness sometimes on my dad's face when I've even mentioned, but I've been very transparent with my dad when I run into my bio father. So
Okay,
just to fill him out because I don't ever want
Mhm.
it to be like I'm sneaking around. So
that's a fact.
Yeah.
he
I
is
respect that.
definitely open to if that's what we want to do. So we've had that conversation amongst my family. If that's what you feel like you need to do, if that's what y'all want to do, okay, so be it. But it's never been anything that bio dad has pursued enough for it to be a concern.
Wow,
I will be 41.
In May.
wow.
Wow.
Mhm.
Well,
Well,
that
you know
is
what,
wonderful
Adria?
to hear. Yeah, that
Hmm.
those of us that have had stepdads, and it sounds like, at least the three of us, we had positive, experiences with our
Hmm.
stepfathers. And that's something folks out there can, think about and say, if as they're contemplating, women out there contemplating, marrying someone, and um, when the biological father's not in the picture, or even if he is in the picture, how to ensure that these children have healthy relationships with their stepfather and the stepfather with their children. And so when you're looking at the mate that you're wanting in your life, you want to, think about that and, hope you have the outcomes that, sounds like the three of us have had with our step parents. And like I said, I had my first one, of course, that raised me up until 16. And then I had another one, in my late teens, and that I was very, very close with as well. So two very, very wonderful stepfathers. Um, and y- y- you know, it's the luck of the draw, I guess, or God's blessing on our lives,
Mhm.
are
Hmm.
very, very real.
Mhm.
So,
Absolutely. Well, Adria, do you have any more last thoughts before we wrap up and go into our next segment?
Um. No, I just.
I'll just echo the sentiment that I definitely feel like it's God's blessing on my life. I was blessed with such a wonderful, not only stepfather, but he's one of, or was one of seven men, like brothers. And all of his brothers, they just are all stand up men and they all looked out for us and never looked at us any differently. Because my dad's brother has a daughter, very similar situation. So yeah, we've just had very blessed lives.
I think that's amazing, and I think that's awesome, and
yeah.
kudos to you, Father. We're gonna leave this step. We're gonna leave the step where it is and silent. Kudos to you for being a man, and we could use more men like you. And we hope someone that may be listening to this who may not have a relationship with your child, we encourage you to fix it. Older, younger, fix it because it is
Mhm.
important. Adria, you stated you were what, almost 41 years old or 41 years old. It's a
Mhm.
real thing, and that hurt can be a real thing. So if we can make it better, let's make it better. Shani, you have anything
Yeah.
else before we wrap up?
Yeah. And to the stepfathers out there, the bonus parents, as we like to call them nowadays, not step. We use bonus father or father. Um, hopefully you feel appreciated, and hopefully you recognize the value that you're adding to these children's lives, and whether
Absolutely.
the biological father's involved or not, you're a piece of the pie, what I call a piece of the pie in that child's life. So don't ever feel like, you know, you can't be heard or validated or do more, or you have to take a step back, you know. Um, just know that when that child grows up to be the ages that we are, all three of us are here today, we will look back in fondness, with great fondness and love, on what you've added and how you've enriched our lives. So, kudos to all of you.
Kudos to all of you. I'm going to just wrap up a little differently tonight. I'm just going to wrap up with a quick story. My 16-year-old was best friend. One of her best friends was having a sleepover, and of course, I asked, "What's the family dynamic?" She says it's her mom, siblings, and stepdad. And I'm like, "Well, what energy is the stepdad giving?" And she's like, "What do you mean?" I said, "Is it giving creepy? Like, what is it giving?" She said, "Oh no, mom, he's just like my stepdad." And I said, "What do you mean?" She said, "Until I tell people, no one knows he's not my real father." And that spoke
Mhm.
volumes to me, as I stated
Yeah.
earlier.
Mhm. Mhm.
Love should be so loud that it kills the silence. It silences the step. And no matter if the
Mhm.
kids are biological or not, they should feel that love just as big, just the same.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll go off into our audience invite. The title of last week's song was We Are Family by Sister Sledge. And the topic was family collaboration versus competition. Now, y'all better know what that one is. I mean, I don't care, black, white, Puerto Rican, Asian.
You
Y'all better
got
know,
that
Sister
right.
Sledge, we are
Yeah.
family.
One of my
But
favorites.
one of my favorites, honey. But if you don't, and if you want to get to listen, if you want to get to know Sister Sledge and We Are Family, the lyrics, download it and listen to it in its entirety. And if you're feeling that song or can guess the title of the song to tonight's lyrics that I dropped during this episode, please hit us up. This is your official invite to email us at
Mhm.
wifeyandbabymama@gmail.com. And that's wifeyandbabymama@gmail.com. Now we'll go on to our fictional family.
All right. And actually, tonight, normally I would have a fictional family, but this topic moved me so much for a number of reasons, not just because of my own relationship with my stepfather, but I just had a really, really close friend, a friend of 25 years, pass away. And it's been weighing on me, of course. But the reason why it relates so much to tonight is she has a daughter, a 14-year-old daughter. And when she got pregnant with her daughter, the father, the biological father, was like, "Oh, heck no, you better have an abortion. I don't want this child." And she says, "No, I'm not going to do that." So he left. He took off. He left the state and everything, nowhere to be found. Oh, I'm sure eventually she found him via the court system, but he didn't want anything to do with the daughter. She met a guy when her daughter was about 2. Um, I'll call him Dre. She met Dre, and he not only fell in love with her, but he fell in love with her daughter. And he immediately became that girl's father, the father that her father did not want to be. And I would look at the Facebook posts of him doing the, daddy daughter
Daddy duties.
dances,
Hmm.
Yes, all of them, all the games and the holidays and just being a wonderful person that he didn't have to be. That wasn't, you know, because of his love for my friend, he fell in love with the daughter as well. And then when my friend got sick, she got cancer. Passed away from cancer, and it was very sudden. I mean, she was diagnosed and died within less than a year. There was no
Wow.
hope. And n- not only did he vow to, of course, his daughter that he considered his, because she's 14 now, when my friend passed, but he wanted his daughter, to know that no matter what, her mother would not be forgotten and that he would never try to replace her. Not saying he's going to be, I don't know, single or celibate. It's too soon to tell. But right now, he's feeling like, I don't want to bring another woman into her life right now. I just want to be her everything so that she's able to heal and we're able to heal together. And seeing how he stepped up, not only when he, came into the relationship with my friend, but seeing how he stepped up even now after she's gone at such a young age, um, you know, it just speaks volumes about how wonderful a stepdad, bonus dad, real dad, whatever you want to call him. And of course, my friend's daughter only knows him as dad. She didn't know her biological father, never met him, never seen him, never nothing, because he disappeared and said, "No, I don't want her. I don't want anything to do with this life at all." So she only knows him, but she does know that he's not her biological father. She wasn't, they didn't hide that from her, but it doesn't matter to her because he has been her everything, as if he really did birth her. And no different from, his other children that he had from a previous relationship. Nothing. And it just brought tears to my eyes, of course, and still does, when I look at their pictures now, and look how he's holding her up, because you're 14 losing your mother, and your life is changed forever. So instead of a fictional family, I said, let me do a non-fictional family and talk about, my dear friend, and I will miss her for forever. But I'm so proud of the husband that she chose, um, to be there. And so for those who are listening, when you do choose that spouse, don't just think of you when you have children, when you're trying to blend a family. And a lot of us do get caught up. I'm sure Sean and I could tell you stories about when we were younger. You dated somebody for whatever reason. But knowing now what we know and how to communicate, um, just our experiences from life, think about your children and, um, what will be best for them. And in this case, I have to say, my girl, she chose the right man, because even after she's gone, um, her child is well protected, well taken care of, because her dad, I won't say stepdad, her dad is there for her, holding her up and keeping her mother's memory alive. And that is the non-fictional family I am feeling tonight.
That's a beautiful contribute to your friend. I'm probably saying it wrong because I'm country, but it's
Tribute. Yeah.
beautiful and it's tribute. It's a contribute. That's a beautiful tribute to your friend and a beautiful testament to the power of steps. And Adria, I know that you
Yeah.
can agree with that from the story you have with your own dad.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, ladies, this has been a wonderful conversation tonight. Adria, we want to thank you so much for joining us as you told us in the beginning of the show, your life is pretty busy and full. So thank you for taking
Yeah.
the time to sit with Wifey and
My
Baby Mama.
pleasure.
What you do and what you've been through is so, so powerful to this platform because we like to bring out blended families, how important they are and how successful they can be. So thank you.
Hmm. Yes.
Hi, lady.
Thank you so much, and come back anytime. And
Absolutely.
and
Anytime
once
that
again to
schedule will let you.
Right.
right, right.
Between
Ah,
semesters or so.
Right.
and once again, to all of our listeners around the globe, we thank you so much. And as we're growing, even in the U.S., we're over half of the country now in the United States, which is, you know, a welcome. Or we're sending a great welcome to all of those who listen, and we look forward to this every week. So we welcome you back to next Thursday and the next episode of Wifey and Baby Mama.
We have 4 more left. You guys better like and subscribe. We thank you for your support. I love you all. Till next week.